What's up, everyone, and welcome to the 90s First Show, where we talk about things that we love. Join Joe, Justin, and myself, Mike, as well as the occasional special guest, as we talk about the movies and shows that we love the most. If you would like to support us, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. Now, enjoy the show. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 90s First Show, our bi-weekly show where we talk about the movies and TV shows that we've been watching. My name is Mike, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Joe! Jelly is back! What's up, Joe?
Hey, Justin, how you doing? Oh, wait, yeah. What's up, everyone? Hi, I am doing great. Life has been insane for me, but powering through it. I am very excited to be back here, though, and recording and chatting with you guys.
I'm extremely excited to see you here. And we also have our special guest, Justin. How you doing today, Justin?
Oh, I'm doing just great. I love being a co-host on this podcast, talking about movies that I love. I'm glad I came up with this idea back in the day, to make a podcast.
It's really nice having guests on the show, isn't it, Joe?
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm really a guest, you're a guest, he's a guest. We're all guests here.
Yeah.
I'm a dude. He's a dude.
I'll just go grab Cicero and bring him into the podcast. Give me 1 second.
All right. Sounds good. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go ahead and check out Test Your Might, our last episode, which by the time you're hearing this, it's probably kind of like a simultaneous release. So it's there in our podcasting feed. So definitely go check that out. That is our video game debate show. And as well as our next episode of the 90s First Show is going to be on the rebooted, the newly started Bel Air. So we're going to be watching the first episode of Bel Air, and we're going to review it for you and bring you a podcast here. Maybe if we could string some things, we'll get it to you next week instead of bi-weekly, but if not, please go ahead and watch the YouTube version of this to see the Carlton. Anyway, if you want to check that episode out, we'll get it out as soon as we can. Again, all three of us are dads here, so certainly takes some time to get an episode out. So,
yes, it does.
Speaking of YouTube, if you're on YouTube right now watching this, please hit that subscribe button. If you have not already, hit the like button on the episode. It really certainly helps us out. We are on the road to 100 subs. Honestly, I don't care about growing the YouTube channel, to be honest. I just want to get to the 100 subs so that I could say youtube.com/the90sfirst. That's all
I definitely care.
About.
I definitely care. I want us to get famous. I want us to get big, well known, and you should see the looks I'm getting on this bus from these people while I did the Carlton. But
I've set my goals a lot lower than you, I guess. So
only a million. We just want a black 100,000.
100,000. All right. Well, as well as if you could leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice, please certainly go ahead and do so. I know if you listen to us on Spotify, they do have a new rating system. So rate us 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever you'd like. Let us know how we're doing. That way we are able to improve the show. We can't improve the show if we don't know what we're doing wrong. So,
facts.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a 90s movie, and so we decided to go back to the 90s here and talk about a movie that, full disclosure, I had not seen until a couple weeks ago, and my wife was like, "What? You run a 90s podcast and you haven't seen Speed? What?"
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I didn't realize that was your first time going through it.
Yeah, it really was.
This is news to me live right now. I'm finding this out.
Honestly, I wish it would have been my first time, but it wasn't.
I'm glad it was my first time. It was a lot of fun. We'll get into that. So, yes, we are talking about Speed. Keanu Reeves, and let's see. We got Dennis Hopper. We got Dennis Hopper as the villain. We have Sandra Bullock, Joe Morton, and Jeff Daniels. And guys, I'm just gonna do a sidebar right out the gate. It is so hard to see Jeff Daniels in a serious role and actually take him seriously. Is that just me, or is it you guys too?
Sandra Bullock too.
It's just me.
Yeah. Did you ever watch The Newsroom? I think that was his show.
Nope.
I think I've seen a few of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just very hard for me. Just think like Dumb and Dumber. That's all I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a far cry from Dumb and Dumber, especially when this came out. Well, Dumb and Dumber was the year before, I think. I think Speed was 95. I think Dumb and Dumber was 94.
Oh, wait, 94 for Speed as well.
Oh, so same year release? Ridiculous.
Yeah, all right, but Speed. So Speed is 1994 action thriller film. It was released on June 10th, 1994. Kind of one of the first, like, quote unquote summer blockbuster hits.
I was literally 4 years old and 9 days old.
Yes. It became critically and commercially successful, grossing $350.4 million, and it only had a $30 to $37 million budget. So, yeah, I think it did pretty well for itself. But yeah, this movie was directed by Jean Desbont, written by Graham Yost, produced by Mark Gordon, and then we went through the cast as well. Music by Mark Messina, and it is 20th Century Disney Fox. So
it's Disney.
Yeah.
So let's get down to it. Again, we're taking Speed. I know it's a 1994 film, listeners, but we will keep a spoiler warning as well in the middle of the show. So first and foremost, let's get our initial thoughts of Speed. Joe, since you are back in the fold here after a while, we're going to go your way first. High level thoughts on Speed, and let us know what you thought. No spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay. So I've seen Speed. Obviously, I watched it a long time ago. Without spoiling, we'll say it was definitely an enjoyable movie. Maybe nostalgic, and that might have helped a lot. I think that's the best spoiler-free review I can give.
Well, I mean, you could go into it a little bit more. Like,
there's a cop, right? And he's got a partner, and it's almost a buddy comedy, like buddy cop comedy, with Jeff Daniels and Keanu Reeves. They do great together. The chief of police, whose name I'm gonna not remember, also fantastic in that and funny. It's I can't, because I just want to talk about the movie. There's a lot about the movie that is good. There are some parts that are absolutely dated.
Okay, we'll go to you then, Justin. High level thoughts. Speed.
I just did a rewatch before this podcast, which was probably my 50th time watching it of my lifetime. I've seen this movie a lot. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the best anymore. I do think Jelly was right when he said the nostalgia is part of it. That's a big part of it. There is a lot in it that just doesn't really go with me anymore. The cinematography, the different shots they use, the action sequences, they don't really hold up nowadays. But I do think it's a great ride, and it is definitely going to keep you on the edge of your seat. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it before. Maybe not a second watch until you forget how bad some of the stuff is.
Accurate. I like it.
So I can certainly speak to, critiquing it. But just high level thoughts. This movie's a lot of fun. I loved it. It's something where I certainly could see, obviously, the criticism. I have criticism of my own towards this movie. It's certainly dated. It is definitely a 90s movie. But with that being said, like, I was on the edge of my seat. It was a fun ride. I think Keanu Reeves doesn't really get into his own as far as acting for me until The Matrix. So like this is just the Keanu Reeves that's before that, kind of figuring out how to act. I mean, he knows how to act, but you get what I'm saying, like figuring out his footing, his stamp into the industry.
Yeah,
and
getting Point Break.
Reeves. Yeah. So, but aside from that, it had quirky like villain, even though I don't. Dennis Hopper's kind of funny in this, more so than villainous, but still a fun villain, at least during the film. And yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. I had never seen it. A lot of fun. So all right,
what do you do?
Can we spoil it now?
Yeah. So we are going to get into our spoilers. So if you guys have not seen Speed, I understand it's a very old movie, 1994, but this is your spoiler warning. So go ahead and pause the movie, pause the podcast. If you have HBO Max, it is available on there. So go ahead and check it out, and then come back to the podcast for your spoiler review. So this is your spoiler warning, final chance. All right, gentlemen, let's get into it. So an LAPD SWAT officers Jack Traven and Harry Temple thwart an attempt to hold an elevator filled with passengers for a $3 million ransom by an extortionist bomber. But as they corner the man in the elevator, he takes Harry hostage. So yeah, that's just a huge sentence to summarize basically the opening act of the film. Mm-hmm. By the way, 3 million. I mean, this guy has not met Dr. Evil. I don't know what he's doing. But Justin, kind of let's go through this kind of like first scene. What do you got?
So in my opinion, when I started the rewatch today, I'm used to watching Keanu Reeves now. And him being a good actor and maybe a little over actor, but he has the emotion behind him. In this opening scene, he seemed very fidgety, almost as if he didn't know what he was doing. He was chewing gum the entire time, and you could see him just, I don't know if you're watching the video, he's like very spastic with his actions and his motions. And I didn't like that. I didn't really enjoy that view of Keanu Reeves. But even going back further, I grew up with Babes in Toyland, which he was a teenager in, and he did a phenomenal job in that acting compared to this opening sequence. This really got the layout of the character for you and learning who Jack is and what he is willing to do to save people's lives and catch the bad guy. So I do enjoy the plot of unraveling who this character is right at the start of the film. They did a great job with that. Some of the CG work on the elevator and the camera angles were kind of spot on.
It's 90s,
but
man.
you did see the emotion in the hostages in the elevator itself. You saw the emotion in their faces, and they didn't want to die, which you carry on later on in the film. But I did like the fact that it rolled right into an action sequence, and you really got thrown into the immersion level of his job and what it entails.
So Joe, Dennis Hopper as Howard Payne, the antagonist of the film. What did you? I mean, I'm going to ask you this question, and then you can move into what you thought of the opening scene. But like, what did you think about his introduction as the villain here to the film?
Started off strong, fell off quickly. The best summation that I can give. When you first see him, like, it's believable. Like, he looks like he could be a villain. The way he's listening in, the way he's doing everything, like, it's really well done. And as you go into the scene further, like, you get a lot of Jack and Henry, right? Harry, something? Harry.
Jack and Harry.
Jack and Harry. So you get a lot of them on screen and the hostages, and you don't really get much of what is the bad guy's name?
Mac. Oh no, that's not Mac.
No.
I literally just said it. Howard Payne.
Yeah, Howard Payne.
So you get a little bit of Payne, and I think it's just enough to entice you, and which is good. And then, like, once they attach the crane and stop the fall and then break in and find him in the freight elevator, it goes downhill real quick. Like, really, really, really fast. Because there's a shootout in an elevator with a shotgun. He doesn't shoot them because he wants to ransom them because the hostage got away, maybe.
Yeah.
And then also he, like, blows the... And then
I think what you're getting at, Joe, if you allow me to interject here, like, I think what you're getting at is that, like, yeah, that first scene where he just randomly stabs the guy, like, stabs the security guard. Like that is villainous. That is brutal. And then all of a sudden he turns into a cartoon.
Like a funny psychopath.
Yeah, he turns into like a cartoon villain, like straight out of Roger Rabbit. And I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Yes, especially as they're leaving the freight elevator. He's the part where he pulls Jeff Daniels' character up by his nostrils. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and then as he's leaving right before he blows up, we have like the weirdest, craziest laughter / like smile. He literally looks insane, and you're like, well, that's not like a good villain. Yeah, that's not convincing. No. This dude's an idiot, like an absolute imbecile, and he could have never pulled this off. And then you're like kind of reintroduced into a little bit more sane version of that same crazy guy.
Yeah. So
Payne.
as Joe just alluded to, he takes Harry hostage, and then Jack actually intentionally shoots Harry in the leg, forcing the bomber to release him. The bomber flees and activates a bomb, which was strapped to himself, and seemingly dying in the process. Now, I got to be honest, I thought he actually died. Like, the way that it was portrayed, like, I thought that, it was a clean way of, like, maybe, like, this guy dies and then his apprentice tries to, enact revenge on Jack or whatever. So I thought that's what was going to be the case, but
I can see that on first watch through.
Yeah, not the case. Jack and Harry are praised by Lieutenant Mac McMahon, with Harry being promoted to detective. Having survived the incident, however, the bomber watches the ceremony on TV from an unknown location. So, Justin, this kind of like sets the scene. We know that this bomber guy, he's not done. And so the next morning, Jack witnesses a mass transit bus explode, killing the driver. So, Justin, let's get into this.
I want to back up a little bit and talk about what Jelly was saying, how we barely got any of Payne during that elevator scene. I do enjoy that, unfortunately, because the entire film from this point forward is literally on the hip of Jack. So it was really, you're going to be in closed spaces with this character. You want to get to know this character, so they're going to shoot as much as you can with this character to entice you into caring about them. So I do enjoy that, and I understand where you came from, where you said you think it was a clean break and then his apprentice could take over, because, it's like that's the end of that scene, and Jack won. He got the hostages out. He saved everybody, and he didn't get the bad guy, but the bad guy ended. But the next day, literally the next day, Jack is just on the streets, and this bus explodes right in front of him, literally earshot distance, and it grounds you real quick.
Yeah,
it pulls you back in.
Which does hint at a villain that is extremely smart, and a lot smarter than you think he was, because if it's the next morning, like, he had a contingency plan. There's no way that these bombs were not already planted, at the start of the film. And I think that's where Joe's so right. You get these like really villainous like aspects of this guy, and then he laughs. And it's just a straight up cartoon.
Yeah, it's very interesting to have a villain that is comical in a sense, but also very critical with his planning. And not only does this bus explode, but he's literally watching Jack near this bus and calls a payphone. A payphone we've talked about on previous episodes, fans. That's a phone that's attached to the ground that you walk up to and put quarters in and pay.
I am sorry. I love when we do that, when we break the fourth wall. It's so funny. All right, anyway. So
he calls literally the payphone right next to Jack. And
that's right.
Johnny?
You're like blowing my mind right now, dude.
He literally gives him the rules to this game that this diabolical evil genius wants to play. Because the next day we play another game. No matter what. And, there's going to be a bus that if it decreases, if it goes to 50 miles per hour, the bomb will activate, and then it cannot go lower than that 50 miles per hour. And also, all of the people on it cannot be removed, or he will blow the bomb.
Yeah.
And
also, like, this guy does need to meet Dr. Evil, because he went from a 3 million ransom to a mere 3.7 million. Like, where the heck is that arbitrary 7 coming from?
Those 0.7, man, all those bombs that I detonated, it's for the loss, you know. The net
It was
loss.
inflation.
Yeah.
Interest on his investment.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, what were you going to say?
Oh, quick question. Do you think he would have been more imposing on a tricycle? Payne.
On a
No?
tricycle?
Are you going with, like, Saw? Are you going Jigsaw?
Do you want to play a game? Because he was
What are you going to do, Neo?
So instead of in a car watching him, he's on the street just pedaling away.
$3.7 million. Tomorrow it'll be 3.9.
No, it was fine. Bob the friendly bus driver. There's a lot in this movie, especially in these scenes, that are unbelievably dated. How many people know their bus driver nowadays? How many people know what a payphone is nowadays? Like,
Our fans
there's so
do
much
now.
in here. The fan, you guys do, but other people don't. Other people don't know what that is. They're like, okay, the younger generations have never even seen a payphone. They don't know what they are. Mass transit, like mass transit is still popular in cities, obviously, but who's friendly with their bus driver? Like, does anyone even talk to the bus driver anymore? Or is that just like basically a non NPC, non-player character in the story of your life? And you're just like, yep.
I mean, obviously, it's certainly dated, but it is of its time. I mean,
Well, when
I
you're
rode
living in
bus
the Matrix, they
90s
just
when I
do
was
their
a kid.
things.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into Speed the Matrix. Anyway, so Sam Silver is the bus driver. Jack explains the situation to him.
Kind of.
And Sam is as cool as he could be, apparently, because he's got a bomb. But he's good, he's good to drive. But there's a criminal on board. For some odd reason, thinks that this guy, Jack, drove a car to chase a bus, to jump on it from said car, to catch somebody who stole a candy bar.
I mean, we don't know what he did, but yeah.
He did have a
Probably
weapon.
did.
He had a weapon, so maybe it wasn't a candy bar, maybe it was a cash register, but regardless, he does discharge his gun, and he wounds Sam, and so another passenger, Sandra Bullock's character, Annie Porter, actually takes over for Sam, and she has her bus license. She knows how to floor it, apparently. And so, Joe, take us into the introduction of Sandra Bullock's character.
So Annie, right? Little quick little Annie, who has her license revoked for speeding, now has to speed in a bus. Yes, now has to speed with the bus, not going below 50. When you're watching the movie, fans, friends, when you want, understand that it never goes below 50. Not even on those turns, not even through those crowded. It's not going below 50. It looks like it is, but it's not.
It clearly is.
It's definitely not going below 50. Otherwise, it would have exploded, and we know that.
So what we're talking about here, listeners, is I will have the Screen Junkies Honest Trailers linked down in the description for you to hear
enjoy.
exactly what we're talking about. I mean, obviously, there's no way a bus stays at 50 miles per hour on some of those turns, sure, but it is a movie. And it is a Keanu Reeves summer blockbuster. So
yeah. So Sandra Bullock, she's a wildcat, right? We don't know much about her on her intro, except for we're introduced to her running after the bus, yelling "Sam, Sam, Sam, Sam!" Right? And apparently that's a bus driver, because bus drivers and people who ride the bus are on a first name basis. Yeah. So she's yelling after Sam. Sam does stop and let her on the bus. Now she can die. Spoiler alert, she doesn't. They made a sequel. So we're introduced to her. And then she's, no nonsense, kind of pushy. She's not really nice, especially when the officer jumps from the moving vehicle onto the bus. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I'm trying to explain a really crazy situation. She's like, you're being ridiculous right now. And he's like, I'm a cop and you need to sit down and shut up and listen to what I have to say. Please and thank you. And she's like, obviously what I have to say is more important. She does eventually shut up. She does have to take over. She's driving the bus.
Eventually she does shut up because Jack actually reveals the bomb to the passengers. Like he opens up the floor, he examines the bomb underneath in the bus, and calls Harry, who works to identify the bomber. Now Harry is still injured actually, so like he's not on the scene here. He's actually back at the office, and Harry's actually, I mean, Justin, let's talk about this. Harry's actually kind of, I think, my favorite character in the movie, because I really like these like detectives who are working behind the scenes trying to figure out like who the killer is and really diagnose the psychology of it all to kind of figure out who they're after.
Okay,
and so I really do like Harry's character. Maybe he's not my favorite. Sam Silver, the bus driver, is amazing in this film. But yeah, what do you think about Harry in his new detective role?
From the back logs, this guy is just trying to solve the problem without being there in person. And I know we've passed over a few of these lines, but there is a lot of comical joke, little thrown in one-liners in this film that keep you kind of like involved in the story. And one of these lines is when he first finds out, there's a bus that's been, that's speeding. And one of the other detectives say, "Where's Jack at?" And Harry goes, "Where do you think?" Literally on the bus already, trying to, save these people. And I really like that, that he's basically a brother in arms right here, and helping as much as he can with this bomb defusal and the analyzing the situation that Jack can't do firsthand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. After a harrowing adventure through city traffic, the police clear a route to the unopened 105 freeway. Mac demands that they offload the passengers onto a flatbed trailer, but Jack warns him about the bomber's plot. And what's kind of cool about this, and it does come into play later on in the film as well, when they start figuring out this guy's MO and like how he's managing to kind of be one step ahead at all times. He's watching all of these events on television, and he's utilizing the news outlets that are in their helicopters, watching this thing on the 105 freeway. And so Jack kind of is stuck between a rock and a hard place, And so the bomber is convinced to allow eventually the injured Sam, at least, to be offloaded for medical attention as a show of goodwill. But Joe or Justin, what happens next?
Okay, this made me very angry, number one. You're watching this movie and you know what happened in that one bus explosion earlier, and you know what the capability of this is. And this chick is, "Me too! I'm running! Get me out of here!" And she goes to the door and steps down on the little steps on the bus. And guess who sees? Payne sees. And he blows the bottom floor out of those steps, and she goes tumbling gruesomely under the wheels of the bus, and she's gone. And that was a real sense of, we're in the thick of it right now. And these passengers are starting to realize, we could die here. That could have been me. And you're just screaming, why are you not listening to Jack? Why are you getting up? Why are you getting out? You did this to yourself, unfortunately. And we just keep moving along because that's all we can do.
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
Any other thoughts besides
the wheels on the bus? No, I mean, you're at this point we're solidly into the classic 90s car chase movie action scene, right? It's cut and paste from anything of that era. This might have been one of the earlier ones, but really, like, we're understanding better what the consequences are for not listening. We're understanding better the motives behind the bad guy. We're understanding better the lengths at which Jack is willing to go to save everyone. You get more character. You kind of get character development in Annie and Jack, and you kind of get relationship in Annie and Jack. Like, you get a little bit, but it's not. You
really don't.
It's not enough. Yeah. And it's like, you know, trauma bond. Mm-hmm. They bond through trauma. But yeah, not much else. It's and this is where I fall off, and it's like, it's 90s. It's fun. Yeah. If you're watching it, it's enjoyable.
And
if
like
you listen to it, it's
you know, to be honest, Joe, it's the next scene that actually makes me kind of think like, yeah, you know, this is a 90s movie.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
After a harrowing adventure through the city traffic, they're on the 105 freeway, and Jack learns that the freeway is incomplete.
Yep.
And
the classic bus.
He persuades Annie.
Oh no! He pushes her foot down, and she says, "Ow."
Pushes her foot down to accelerate the bus to maximum speed, so they can jump the gap,
the flat gap.
Jump the shark.
The cinematography on this alone. I know it's a 90s film. I watched this and I was like, okay, sure, great action scene, bus landing flat off a flat ramp 50 feet in the distance. Sure, okay. You know, the wheels on the bus may go round and round, but the door does not go open and closed anymore. And this is not the right...
is real?
I think they're living in the Matrix.
No,
I think
Gravity
he just made
is
the bus
the
fly.
other Sandra Bullock film.
We're
talking about Speed.
Right. Yes, yeah. We're talking about the Matrix Reloaded right now because it's a car chase scene. This is... Oh my goodness. This is Neo making the bus fly 50 feet and tell everyone to hold on for dear life. This is what this is. And it makes a great edge-of-the-seat moment back in the day. But now it's like, that's unreal. That's everyone's so critical and they see the difference. You know, you see the road and you see the flat road end sign and you see it, the distance that they have to clear. And obviously this bus just came off of it diagonally, like Joe was showing in the video.
Yeah. And I mean we're watching the Matrix and the Furious, you know, like it just is what it is, you know. Yeah. So anyway, he does persuade Annie to accelerate the bus to jump the gap. And then they end up going to the Los Angeles International Airport, which really smart idea. They use their unobstructed runways, and then Harry does eventually identify the bomber as Howard Payne, who is indeed a former Atlanta Police Department bomb squad officer. So this is kind of unfortunate. Harry leads a SWAT team to Payne's house, but Payne obviously anticipated it. He rigged the house to explode and killed the team, including Harry. So my favorite character goes down.
I'm going to interject here if that's okay. I don't like the fact that Wiki skipped one of my favorite scenes. I know Joe mentioned it before in the pre-show. We're talking about that hard right turn in that bus to lead onto the freeway. Wiki didn't even mention it. They had to floor it to get, you know, through traffic and everything and keep it up 50, and they're making a hard 90 right turn. And they move all the passengers, minus the guy that's handcuffed, to the right side of the bus so they can off-weight the balance of the tires. And you actually see the turn happen and the wheels come off the ground and lift. And they're going two wheels on this Metro bus, which is crazy and was much more believable than the jump. But I enjoyed that turn by far. I think that's my best. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Credit where credit is due. Yeah. The practical effects that they used in Speed are phenomenal. They really ran a bus through cars and through blockades. They really made a Jaguar run into a bunch of the water things on the freeway. They really did all of the stuff. So the best thing about 90s films is CG was like, you know, in 94. Mm-hmm. So they practical effected a lot of stuff. And for this movie especially, most of the car scenes, most of the car chases, all of the car like crashes, everything that you get to watch, all the destruction, that's real. Like the only thing in the very beginning that wasn't was the elevator scene.
Yeah.
Some of the explosions, right, are not actual explosions, but they're CG. But all of the crashes, all of the demolition kind of stuff, you're really watching people crash, you know, stunt doubles and people like that crash cars and run cars into things and destroy them. The practical effects were amazing. So credit where credit is due. The bus on 2 wheels, the plowing through traffic, the cars hitting the bus and bouncing off, like all of these are real things that they filmed, which I think is amazing because it's really cool to watch good, like, that's not just good acting, that's like really skilled individials. Like those are skilled stunt doubles, skilled drivers, skilled people pulling something off to make a beautiful thing.
I think this is one of the only films that Keanu Reeves used a stunt double as well, because he's against stunt doubles a lot of the time. So earlier in his career, I believe this was one of the few that he used.
All right, that's like Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan just does everything himself. Like, no, I'll do it. I'll learn it.
Sorry to off tangent from your favorite character dying. We'll continue our synopsis.
In a last-ditch effort to defuse the bomb, Jack goes under the bus on a towed sled. I loved this scene. This was awesome, to be honest. So definitely a cool scene. He does inadvertently puncture the fuel tank as if they had enough problems.
Yeah, there's a one-liner right there when he gets back up that Annie was like, "What, you needed another challenge?" Because we're running out of gas. It's great.
Yeah, and like Sandra Bullock, like this is one of her like best, like what's the word that I'm trying to say here? It's
a pivotal
like her timing is really good in this. Like her injections into the script, like just was really good. So her comedic timing was good.
Yes.
So yeah, the fuel tank is leaking buckets. After the passengers bring back Jack aboard, he learns that Harry has been killed, and that Payne has actually been watching the passengers on a hidden surveillance camera the whole time. And so eventually they do figure out how to loop the transmission so that they're able to actually do things without Payne actually watching. And so Payne doesn't recognize that until we got all the passengers off the bus and it's just Annie and Jack.
Oh, he doesn't notice it until well after they're off. They're already planning the countermeasure at that point, and then he's like, "Oh, there's a purse. That dang woman moved her purse when Jack said, don't do anything, don't make any sudden movements." And she did.
So yeah. And then kind of it just gets, like bad guy on the run. They kind of, Jack and Mac, they head to, so anyway, first of all, sorry, they end up throwing the bus, basically jumping from the bus, and it hits a 707 cargo plane and explodes everything. Which is awesome. That was pretty epic.
And then they share their gushy moment of the film as well. Their first gushy moment.
Which again, I think Joe was right. Bond through trauma, but
trauma bonds.
They mention it. They break that wall a few times of telling us, like trauma never leads to good things. Good relationships don't last from trauma. But they loop this footage, a minute of footage, for Payne to watch, and they start offloading all the passengers except for Annie and Jack, which have to escape through the floor panel in the middle of the plane and just slide for dear life on the floor panel itself. Just slide into the distance and crash and hold each other.
Yeah. It was epic.
Yeah, it was good. That was some good work. It was okay.
Oh. Anyway, Jack and Mac head to Pershing Square to drop the ransom, realizing that he has been fooled. No one died in the explosion, and the LAPD are waiting for him. A furious Payne poses as a police officer, kidnaps Annie, wraps some bombs around her, and and basically learning from his mistakes. Like the bomb was on him initially, and now the bomb is on the hostage. Jack ends up following Payne into the Metro Red Line subway, discovers that Annie has been fitted with those bombs. They end up on a train, and of course you gotta end up on a train because this is Speed, right?
Subway.
Yeah, on a subway. And so Annie there, Jack pursues. Jack gets in a final fight with Payne, ransom money is there. There's all the ransom money is dyed with a bursting dye. So the money is tainted. Doesn't end up working. And Payne just battles Jack, and again,
how do you feel
this is
about
where
that on the top of the train battle?
This is where I was getting at. This is just another type of thing where just like Dennis Hopper does a good job with the script that he has. He does the best that he could do, but he does not have the body type, the face type, like to be on a freaking train fighting another bird. Like it like in all these films, like you think of Die Hard, right? Like Die Hard's an 80s film, whatever, but like you think of Die Hard and you have some menacing villains that like I believe that can actually put up a fight, whereas this, like, Dennis Hopper, bro, like you should be sipping tea at the coffee shop down the block. Like you should not be on this train.
I completely agree. When he was shooting the roof of the train because he was so mad about the money being tainted, and then he's just like, I'm gonna go up there, and you see him crawling up on top of a train holding a detonator, and I'm like, what? Why would you threaten your own life by going up there? Like, I don't. But something does pretty gruesome happen to Payne. Yeah. Right there, because Jack ends up winning and holding Payne up, and he gets pretty brutally decapitated by a light.
Heather was like, we were watching this, and my wife was like, I'm pretty sure he's in the second one. And I'm like, hon, there is no way he is in the second one.
He could be the opening shot in a casket.
Yeah. Anywho, Jack does end up deactivating the vest from Annie, but can neither free her from the pole, as Payne had the key to her handcuffs, nor can he stop the train. So, of course, you can't teach a dog the new tricks.
Full throttle.
Let's put more speed into this.
I mean, it's the name of the movie. You gotta happen. So they put it to maximum speed, and this train bursts onto Hollywood Boulevard. And Jack and Annie kiss. Yeah. That's Speed.
Yeah,
and she somehow gets free of the cuffs, and they somehow survive a train crash, and they somehow 90s, man.
And that's how you get a sequel.
Something that bothered me about that final scene, not the kiss, but during the kiss, there was just random shards of glass falling on them. Like after the crash, they were just sitting there kissing, and then you just see like chips of glass just coming in like snowfall randomly throughout their kissing moment.
Really high in the air. Yeah. Really, really high.
As if like the ongoers that are watching are just like confetti. Like
with sharp glass.
Yeah.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Here you go. Like,
Well, with that being said, guys, we are at the end of our Speed review. So let's give us a score. Joe, you're back for this episode after a while, so we'll go your way first once again.
Okay.
What is your score out of 5?
My score out of 5 is going to be, we'll put it at 3 shotgun blasts through the roof. A little 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Okay.
I'm gonna give this one 3 Neo, Jack, Annie gunshots out of 5 for sure.
I'm gonna go a little bit higher than both of you. I'm going 3.5 fainting bus driver passengers out of 5. Just because it was my first time watching it, and watching it watching it with that, like, you can certainly see the discrepancies that we all have in 90s films or in films of the past, and you can certainly watch past them and just enjoy your time. So, Joe, I know you were not headphoned at the time. I said 3.5 fainting bus passengers out of 5. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was old ladies who wouldn't get off a falling elevator.
Honestly, you know, the villain could have been better if he would have like broken into someone's house. Then he would have been a true villain. That's a nod back to our Home Alone review.
Yeah,
but I feel like they could have done a better job with the villain. You know, Die Hard was very close release to this, and I feel like the villain was so much more powerful for that film.
I don't know. I think wasn't
Yeah,
Die Hard
Alan
like
Rickman.
85?
Yeah.
Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber.
You should have definitely learned from that, and had a little bit of a harsher villain.
Die Hard was 88. So I mean that's a lot.
That's 6
long
years.
time. Yeah.
To learn
6
from your
years
mistakes.
later, so. Oh my goodness,
Can
are
we
we
see
doing
this?
trivia?
Can we see
Oh boy.
Joe is back.
I'm back.
So,
We gotta do
yeah,
it.
sure. We're gonna do some trivia here. So Joe, hit us with a trivia question, and then we'll head on out for the day.
For all you listeners, this is 90s only trivia. Naturally, because it's a 90s film. So, what is the minty candy? Or what minty candy is known as the Fresh Maker?
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm gonna go with Tic Tacs.
Tic Tacs? Justin, what you got?
That's a pretty good guess. I think I'm sticking with that. Tic Tacs.
I think it's Mentos, right?
Ooh, that is a
I
good
have
guess
no
too.
clue.
But 90s wise, Tic Tacs were around that time. Mentos were a little earlier, I think.
They were, and I don't know what it is yet. I have it facing us.
It was Mentos, Joe. Good job.
Good stuff. First time back in a while, and he gets the trivia round.
To be fair, I love Mentos, and
I like the fruity ones.
I remember their oh yeah, the fruity ones are very good. They're
Yeah, the
candy,
fruity
though.
ones are better.
But
So,
the minty
all right.
ones, if you put them in Diet Coke, have a visceral reaction.
Oh, yes.
All right, well, this is another installment of the 90s First Show, our review of Speed. Thank you guys for listening. If you could leave us a review, I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps us out in the algorithm. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, like the video. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. For Mike and Joe and our special guest, Justin, we will see you guys later.
Yep, this
Bye.
is my stop.
Bye, everyone.